Celebrate Mom for Mother's Day with help from Whole Foods Market. Whether you're treating her to brunch, dinner, or a nice gift, you'll find it all in one place. From May 10th through 16th, 15-stem bunches of tulips are on sale, just $9.99 for Amazon Prime members. Plus, shop 365 by Whole Foods Market for brunch staples on a budget, including smoked salmon, the mini quiche trio, and more. For dessert, pick up a heart-shaped cake from the bakery. Only the best for Mom at Whole Foods Market. Terms apply.
Today on CityCast DC, budget negotiations are getting spicy over public transit. It's coming down to DC Council's free Metrobus plan versus the redesign of K Street downtown, which has been Mayor Muriel Bowser's darling. So it's a public transit feud, and we have got all the details. Plus, audio producer Julia Karen and newsletter editor Kayla Cody Stemmerman are here to talk about some new exciting restaurant openings. And DC News Now's sports journalist Brandy Flores is joining to chat about the one surprising DC team that seems to be excelling right now. Today is Friday, May 5th. I'm lead producer Priyanka Tilve in for Michael Schaefer, and here is what DC is talking about. Okay, so this public transit feud situation.
Please tell me more.
Oh my God.
When isn't it a public transit feud in
that's
DC?
so true.
That's fair. This is a big one, though.
Yeah,
it just feels like, okay, so we're going to back it up to December, which is when DC Council voted and announced that they're going to make Metrobus, which is the city's main bus transit service, free within the district. I remember when I heard this, I was super psyched. I think we talked about it on the show. All of us were super psyched.
And we were like, yes, free transit, you'll love to see it.
Yeah.
But the question always comes down to, like, who is actually footing the bill, because nothing's ever actually free.
Exactly. And you do have to talk about where that money is coming from. And so right now we're in the middle of budget negotiations. Mayor Bowser, about a month ago, I would say, announced her proposal, and DC Council has been going back and forth with their suggestions for how to adapt that proposal. The biggest transportation related thing in there, and we had a whole episode with Jordan Pascal from DCist about this, was what was conspicuously missing from Bowser's proposed budget, which was the free buses. She was just like, I'm not a fan of this. We have bigger fish to fry. Her big thing is like what she calls her comeback plan to make downtown DC more alive again. And she says that setting money aside for the free Metro buses is not going to get towards that goal, and there are other projects instead that should. So she kind of just like snubbed the Metrobus plan. And now City Council, DC Council, is like, no, we really like that. So we're going to come up with things that we want to nix from your budget to make money for our Metrobus plan. And the main thing that they want to kill, or at least pause, is the K Street Transit Way. Have you all seen the renderings of that plan, or like what that plan is all about?
So I've seen this, and I have a couple of questions. For people who haven't seen it, basically the two middle lanes of K Street downtown, like where all the lobbyists are, would be bi-directional bus lanes. It's one going one way, one going the other way. It's shut down to everything else. It's only for bus lanes. Basically, the goal is to get it set up so that the bus route is expedited. It's faster. It's more consistent.
The plan was made before like COVID even started. So I think it's really made with commuters in mind, right? Like people who are going downtown every day on the buses, speed them along to their 9 to 5s.
Right.
We're talking about the mile-long section on K Street between 12th and 21st.
Right.
So this is like the heart of downtown DC. Yeah. And like Kayla said, they announced this project in 2019, and they've been working on the design ever since then. But it was really like they'd started formulating this plan before the pandemic was even a thought.
Right. So the question I had about this was, if you know what downtown K Street looks like, they have these service lanes where people are basically parked on the side of the street. And my thought was, well, why don't they just make those service lanes the expressway areas? Obviously, at Farragut Park, it gets kind of cut off. You have to come back in. But like, why not just have that be expedited bus lanes? And
well, I think those service roads are really confusing, especially for anyone that is not super familiar with driving downtown, because it's not like it's just a cut off service road. Like it swerves in and out of the main thoroughfare.
I think it's a turning issue too. Like you can't turn
unless you're in the
bus. Unless you're in that lane.
Right. So it's confusing, and it's also the fact that if they were to just make like the most outside lane of the road into a bus lane. I mean, we have that on other streets in DC, and like no one actually like follows that rule. And then you have cars
That's true.
in the bus lane, which is why they're mounting cameras onto buses now to try and catch people who are doing that. So I actually do like the idea of the middle bus lane thing, but I also see the point that this was designed before the pandemic, might not be the most important thing for revitalizing downtown right now. Something that council members and also the council chairman, Phil Mendelson, are saying is that this whole strategy is designed to like bring downtown back 5-10 years down the line, because it's going to take forever to create
it's going to take years.
this new
it's going to like
transitway.
tear up all of downtown for years. Where
Exactly.
the bus thing, like you can literally implement it tomorrow and that's it. Like that would be done.
But I don't hear anyone proposing any plans that do revitalize downtown tomorrow. Like, I don't know, that seems like such a lofty criticism to make.
Well, I think part of the problem is also like people like teleworking. And once you give them a benefit, it's really, really hard to take it away. And now that people are like, wow, I can do most of my work at home, in a suburb or something like that, it's really hard to convince people and incentivize them to come back downtown. So unless Mayor Bowser incentivizes people and is like, I'm going to raise everyone's pay by $100K to get them to come downtown.
I'll do it.
I'm serious.
I volunteer.
I'm serious. Unless there's a real incentive to be like, you know what? Bringing people downtown is the way to go. This is the benefit and the perk of it. I don't see it being a quick fix. I think we're trying to slap a Band-Aid on a thing that needs surgery.
I
now
fully
that it's
agree.
so black, like now that we're like truly, you're pitting these two plans against each other, like it is one or the other. Like it's hard to say that the K Street is going to be more impactful because the bus, like everybody takes, like the buses are going to affect everybody. The K Street lanes are going to affect a very small percentage of commuters that go downtown several years from now. So I see why there's the pull on that side. I really do.
Yeah, well, and also council is arguing that the free Metro bus plan is specifically designed to help lower income workers in the city, because we've seen that when it comes to subway plans, the Metro versus bus plans, people who ride the bus tend to be of lower socioeconomic status. And so that's who they're trying to help, or at least that's what they say. But I do feel like it also benefits a lot of people that don't actually need a free Metro bus pass and would and could pay for it. And so the way they're framing this as a zero-sum game is part of the problem. And I mean, that's politics. I wonder if they'll be able to come up with a solution that allows them to somehow do a little bit of both of these. Though to your point, Julia, like you said, once you give someone a benefit, you can't take it away. So once they make Metrobus free, it'd be really hard to turn back the clock on that one. And so I see why they're thinking about it as like, we need to figure out a way to fund this for at least 4 years. You can't be doing it year by year because once you roll it out, there's no going back.
Right. No. So in terms of no going back, obviously downtown needs to get fixed. We had a whole episode on what downtown should be if it's ever going to be livable. Do you guys have an ideal downtown look and feel, or do you think it's just going to still be corporate suits and lobbyists forever and ever? Amen.
For me, more like pedestrian zones, for sure. Yeah.
Like parks, like I want restaurants down there. Like I want to be able to like bike downtown safely. Like I want a lot. Like but it has a lot of potential, right? Like all of those, there are parks, there are spaces. They just need to be tweaked like a little bit so it's a little bit more livable, a little bit more walkable.
Yeah, like on K Street, actually, they just unveiled in the last 2 years the new version of Franklin Park. I love Franklin Park. It is so cute the way they've redesigned it. Spaces like that are what make an ideal downtown to me. They also just announced that they're opening up that new food hall / water garden in Crystal City. Crystal City, likewise, has like a really downtown feel. It's all like tall-ish buildings and concrete jungle type vibe. And adding this pedestrian space to me makes me more excited about going to Crystal City. I've never in my life wanted to go to Crystal City for anything other than rock climbing.
That's
and
fair.
Now I'm like, ooh, like maybe I would go hang out there. So I think that's the way they need to be thinking about downtown.
This episode is brought to you by Certified Piedmontese Beef. Listen up, foodies. Make your next meal even better with real Nebraska beef. They have healthy, tender, delicious Italian heritage beef, grass-fed and sustainably raised on lush pastures in the Midwest. You can even create your own personally curated meat box that's shipped right to your door. To get 2 free steaks with any purchase over $50, use the code FREEBEEF at checkout. Learn more and shop exclusively at cpbeef.com.
Celebrate Mom for Mother's Day with help from Whole Foods Market. Whether you're treating her to brunch, dinner, or a nice gift, you'll find it all in one place. From May 10th through 16th, 15-stem bunches of tulips are on sale, just $9.99 for Amazon Prime members. Plus, shop 365 by Whole Foods Market for brunch staples on a budget, including smoked salmon, the mini quiche trio, and more. For dessert, pick up a heart-shaped cake from the bakery. Only the best from Mom at Whole Foods Market. Terms apply.
Speaking of things that are opening up, Kayla, I know a bunch of new restaurants and food halls and things like that are opening. Tell us about them.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned the new food hall going in Crystal City. That's not going to be for a while, but we do have a very fancy new food hall downtown called Love Makoto. It's on Mass Ave. It's sort of close to like Union Station. And they just opened their like 3 initial restaurants, which are all pretty upscale. There's Hiya Izakaya, Beloved BBQ, and Deer Sushi. They all look incredible. I will
But they
say
all have like $75 minimums
they're
or
all
something, right?
very, yeah, like first I was
Jeez.
shocked. Like for a food hall, I was like, that's not a food hall. Those are upscale restaurants. But later they are coming out with like this summer, the smaller, like more casual spots. There's going to be curry and soba and dumplings and coffee and all of the things that I thought was going to be in here. So I'm really excited for that this summer. That being said, do go check it out. They look gorgeous. The food looks amazing.
I can't wait to
Just
spend
know.
literally my entire paycheck at this place.
Yeah, I mean, it looks really good. There's a new pop-up by the Daikaya Group. It's in Haikan. It's called
Right.
Senor Fukushima. It's like a Mexican-Japanese pop-up. So
Say
it's
more.
sort of
I'm intrigued.
yeah, it's sort of a fusion type restaurant. I haven't been. I cannot speak to the food. Maybe we should all go.
So I love Haikan. If you haven't had their crispy pig ear salad, you will be convinced.
I
It's
haven't.
very good.
Intriguing.
So
that
if they
sounds
can do
really
that with like
good.
a Mexican vinaigrette, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I think it's like tacos with like Japanese or like, like Asian influence, like barbecue style, like, Asian barbecue style meats, stuff like that.
I think that the dish that I've heard people talking about most from them is their birria ramen, which just sounds like the
And that sounds
best.
incredible.
Like
That sounds so good.
first thing in the morning, all I want is some birria ramen. A little rich for
God,
breakfast.
That's all
but,
you need
know.
all day, seriously.
Yeah.
And then also there's a new spot called Crave that's coming out. Priyanka, you pointed this one out. It's a like 90s themed restaurant that has like icons of like Missy Elliott and Michael Jordan all over the walls and like serious throwback energy for us 90s babies.
Ooh, yeah. They've got arcade games. Like I think they're going to have Pac-Man.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an experience. Like, I don't know if the food is like going to be, anything new or exciting, but I think the vibe and the experience is going to be definitely worth checking it out for. I'm
Yeah,
pretty excited.
Also, as we're talking about this and how excited we are, I feel like we're playing right into the episode that we had come out a few weeks ago about how DC is just a playground for adults.
Yeah.
This is directly catering to that demographic.
Totally. It reminds me of like a players club, but like specifically made for me. You know what I mean? Like in my references.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say, amid all the openings, we got to pour one out for Fainting Goat.
I
They're
can't
closing.
believe it.
I cannot believe they're closed. That was like my first brunch spot in DC,
Fun fact,
like,
I have never been to Fainting Goat. What do I get
oh
there?
my God. It was such a standby,
Yeah,
Still held up too after so many years.
for real. On U Street, when is Fainting Goat closing?
Closing on May 14th.
Ugh, bummer.
So
So I got a week to
Go
get
before
over
then.
there and get
Yeah.
stuff. You got it.
Yeah. Another thing we all need to go to is an XFL DC Defenders game. So I'm so excited to learn more about this because I hear it's the one team in DC that is actually doing well right now. We don't have a lot of things to pin our hopes on. So, Brandy, tell us about everything. Like, what's going on here? Who are the DC Defenders?
Yeah, so the DC Defenders are our local XFL team. There's a few, I believe there's like 8 all around the country, and they are right now the best professional sports team in the entire DMV. There's still hope out for the Baltimore Orioles. They've started out having a good season, but for right now, right this very moment, especially in DC, they are the best team, and it's great for so many reasons. They are on their way to the XFL championship game, which is the Super Bowl of the XFL.
Oh my God.
So it's really, really exciting. They play over at Audi Field. They had their last game at Audi Field of the season last week in the North Championship game. And they won, obviously, but it's just it's so fun, especially if you're a sports fan. And Audi Field, if you've ever been, there's never a bad seat, and the atmosphere there is just awesome. And for me, I moved out here in August, so seeing DC sports fans happy about their team makes me smile. So
yeah, I was gonna say, what's
thing.
the fandom like for one of these teams? I've heard there's a thing called a beer snake. Can you elaborate, please?
So the beer snake is actually what everybody knows the Defenders by, honestly. Like even across the sports world, the first week, apparently the beer snake was started when the XFL, they've had a few different tries at creating this league. The last time was right before 2020, and that version of that league didn't come back. But there was a team here in DC, and that's where they started the beer snake, essentially in the corner in like the end zones. In one of the end zones, I forget which the number of the section it is, but basically, Pete, that's kind of like the standing section. If you ever been to a DC United game or a Spirit game,
yeah, it's like the fan supporter section. Yeah,
yes, it's like the biggest one where everybody goes, and it's like people drink there, like all that type of good stuff. So what they do is there's a certain type of beer that you buy. I forget, I don't know which one it is, but they have plastic cups, and everybody in that section kind of just started like chugging beers. I don't know if they chug. The XFL promotes not chugging, but they're probably chugging at the rate that beer snake is building. And they stack it one by one. And so those cups like stack all the way to the very top. It curves. So that's where the beer snake comes from. And it's really fun. And it's awesome because the XFL really leaned into it at first, and they kind of made it a little safer because people were just like chucking their cups at the beer snake. And so now they have a system where they started working with some of the XFL started working with the fans and be like, hey, like they have like a couple of super fans, like, can you help us make this safe? Because they didn't want the fans to not do it. Also, in the very first game of this season, which is new, in those cups, I think there was like I don't know what drink it was, but it had like lemons in it, and they would cut like a lemon and like put it like in the drink. I'm sure it's some type of spiked lemonade. But people were throwing the fans were throwing lemons onto the field.
Oh my God.
Yes. So that became a thing. And so now obviously if you throw anything onto the field, they get kicked out, but the players loved it. Like they really embraced the fans, and the fans love them back. And it's a really, really fun atmosphere. XFL games are also a little shorter than traditional football games because the rules are a little bit different, and it's meant to be that way. Their games usually last around 3-ish hours. Normally a football game could be up to like 4 hours. So it's a really cool experience. And it's definitely different from going to FedEx Field and watching the Commanders play.
Sorry, as like a non-sports person, what is the difference? Like, what makes XFL different than like normal football?
So it's the rules, first of all. So it is a professional sports league. So all the people consist on the team. They basically consist of players who either didn't get signed to a team in the NFL, because the NFL season is in the fall time and ends around February. So this is a different version of that. NFL players don't, like, if you're signed to an NFL team, you can't play for the XFL. But the whole point of the XFL when it started was to give guys a chance. So there's so many great athletes, and sometimes you fall in the cracks if you're in the wrong team, you're in the wrong situation. And so this is kind of just like another way to promote these guys and give them another chance of playing football. Teams are made up of really young guys who didn't make a team last year, maybe got drafted, didn't make roster. They're also consist of NFL veterans who were in the NFL and they have come back and then they still want to play, or they got cut from a team. And so it's a really mix of all these guys. But the one thing that they have in common is that they love playing football. And it's really cool to see them get another opportunity. And we'll actually see, as the XFL season ends, some players get invited to NFL training camp. So you can't hate on the XFL. And also, but it basically is played like a traditional football game. Some of the rules are different and they're meant to like promote play. If you know football, in an NFL game, they have all the way fourth down is, right?
Mhm.
Throughout the game, it stays the same. You have to get X amount of yards to get the first down, right? And the XFL in the fourth quarter specifically, instead of accepting like a kickoff, so like when the other team scores or they kick off, they could do like a 4th and 15. So they have 15 yards to like get the score. And so it promotes a lot more scoring. And there's a bunch of other different rules like that, but we won't get into all that. But yeah, so it's definitely a lot different. It's very, very exciting. As a longtime football fan, like watching this first season, really watching the XFL, it's like, whoa, like everything's so different. And it's cool because you're watching football, which is a great sport, but it's just like a little bit different. It's a little bit tweaked. So it's a lot of fun. And the team in DC is good. So it's always great to cheer for a winning team.
Yeah, for real. So like for fair weather fans like me, and I suspect Kayla, considering that neither of us knew what the XFL was until this very moment, are there any other like songs or traditions or things that we should know so that we could like fake being diehard fans if we were to go to this final on May 13th?
So the final is actually in Texas at the Alamo Dome.
Right.
So if you guys go, please let me know.
Oh my God.
I'm not sure if I'm going to make it out there yet.
Yo, CityCast DC takes the Alamo Dome. I'm in.
Yes. I mean, the beer sink is the biggest thing about the Defenders for sure. Also, head coach Reggie Barlow, who's the head coach of the Defenders, he just won Coach of the Year.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So awesome for him. And it's a great accomplishment because he got his team together end of last summer. And so they had a short amount of time to produce a winning product, which is really hard. If you've noticed, if you've ever paid attention to other teams when they have a new coach or they have a new system, it's really hard to do extremely well that first year. Everybody in the XFL kind of had to do that. All the other head coaches had to do that, but the Defenders only lost one game all season long.
Wow.
Ever, and they're undefeated at Audi Field. So if you go to a Defenders game, they haven't lost this season, and
That's
so
amazing.
we'll see if they keep their streak alive
awesome.
and bring home a trophy to DC.
Do you know of any like watch parties?
Or like, yeah, are there any bars that like specifically play XFL?
All the sports bars will probably play the game. I don't know yet. If you go to the Defenders, like they're really good about posting on social media, like fan meetups and things like that. I think every week that they have not been at Audi Field, they've had like a watch party somewhere. And so they kind of go to different places around the DMV. And so we'll see where they kind of decide. Definitely keep an eye out for that.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you for teaching us about the XFL, Brandy. Really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And then we always end our episodes with a DC life hack. I know that you said that you just moved here, but is there anything that you've kind of picked up on or something that's a tip that someone gave you that has really helped you out?
I grew up in Southern California and never left. And I moved here last August. So I'm a little 8-9 months. Can't do quick math right now. And so there's been a lot of different culture shocks. But the biggest thing that I think is really cool is transportation. In California, everybody drives. Everybody has a car. Traffic is worse than what people say it is out there. The traffic you guys have here is nothing. But
Really?
But one thing that's really cool here is transportation. I love taking the metro. I think it's such a cool system. Which, if you're a native DC person, you're probably like, well, duh. But that's what's helped me.
That's awesome. Well, then a metro tip for you that someone told us recently was that there are these little compass roses outside a lot of the metro stations, and they point in the direction that you are facing when you come out of the station. So, like, if you come out of the station facing west, the compass rose will indicate that so that you know where to walk to get to your destination.
That actually is a great tip because so many times I've walked out of metro being like, okay, what street am I on? I have to be on the other side. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
Cool. Well, that is all for today here on CityCast DC. Brandy, thank you so much for being here.
course.
I'm lead producer Priyanka Tilve. Our producer is Julia Karen. Thanks, Julia.
Thanks, Priyanka.
Our newsletter writer is Kayla Cody Stemmerman. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Our production assistant is Susanna Brown, and our hosts are Bridget Todd and Michael Schaefer from Politico. Music is by Alex Roldan. If you enjoyed the show, tell someone who drives, walks, or takes the bus in DC, so basically anyone who lives or works here, and get them to subscribe to our morning newsletter, Hey DC, as well. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Bye! You hear the word free and I don't know, I feel like I never quite outgrew that college instinct to just be excited about the word free.